There is a unique stillness that feels not like peace, but like paralysis. It is the stillness of the person who has studied every map of the forest, but has never felt the earth beneath their feet. The philosopher Alan Watts knew this state well. He saw it as the great affliction of the modern mind, the tragic confusion of the menu. With the meal dot, it's a quiet and familiar exhaustion. The exhaustion of the eternal student of life, the one who is always preparing, always researching, always on the verge of beginning. Your mind is a magnificent library, filled with books on how to be happy, how to find a partner, how to live a meaningful life. You are the chief librarian of this collection, and you believe your job is to read everything before you take a single step outside. And the great paradox of this library is that the more you read, the more you realize you don't know, and the more dangerous and complicated the world outside seems. Your knowledge becomes a cage. You have mistaken the cataloging of life for the living of it. But what if this paralysis isn't a sign that you need one more book, one more map? What if it's your soul's quiet rebellion against the stale, recycled air of the library? What if the life you are so carefully preparing for is the one that is happening right now, just outside the window? This is not a journey to find a better map. It is a journey to find the courage to close the book. It is about exploring a fundamental truth, that no description of the forest can ever compare to the feeling of moss under your feet. We are about to venture out of the library and into the woods, to discover what it means to finally trust the territory over the map. This state of paralysis is not an accident. We are the children of a culture that worships the map. From our first day in school, we are taught to collect facts, to build theories, to analyze and dissect. We are rewarded for what we know about the world, not for how we live in it. Our own direct sensory experience, our intuition, our gut feelings is often dismissed as subjective and unreliable. We are trained, with the best of intentions, to trust the book over our own bodies, to trust the formula over the feeling. This conditioning creates the great loop we must now unravel. We believe our analytical mind, our inner library, is our greatest asset for navigating life. But what if it has become a tyrant? What if the very tool we rely on to make us feel safe and prepared is the one that is preventing us from ever truly living? To explore this, we need a guide who spent his life pointing away from the finger at the moon and towards the moon itself. Alan Watts was a master translator of this dilemma. He wasn't anti-intellect, but he saw with perfect clarity how the mind can build a beautiful and intricate cage for itself. He famously described this condition as dying of thirst while reading the chemical formula for water. He offered a key, not to burn the library down, but to simply unlock the door and walk outside. This key begins with understanding the library's very foundation. In the next part of our journey, we will explore the fundamental illusion that keeps us trapped inside, the idea that the I who is reading the map is somehow separate from the territory itself. We will see why this single belief is the sensory input of the world and translates it into neat, clean, and useful symbols, words, thoughts, ideas. This is a survival tool, but we have made a critical error. We have forgotten that we are the living territory that is creating the map, and we have come to believe that we are the map reader, a separate entity who lives in a world of symbols. We become like a botanist who spends his entire life in a sterile laboratory. He has thousands of books, detailed drawings, and pressed, dried flowers in labeled drawers. He knows everything there is to know about the forest, but he has never felt the rough bark of a tree, never smelled damp earth after the rain, never been startled by the sudden flight of a bird. He is the master of a dead world of his own creation. The analysis paralysis we feel is the botanist's dilemma, a profound terror of the unpredictable. Messy, living forest, and a sad, safe comfort in the catalog of things that are already dead. Let's try a small experiment. For just 5 seconds, stop thinking about your breath and just feel it. Feel the physical sensation of air entering your nostrils, the slight coolness, the gentle rise and fall of your chest. That direct feeling, that is the territory. The thought, "I am breathing now," is the map. Can you feel the difference? One is alive and happening now. The other is a second-hand description, a memory. The great secret is that you were never the botanist. You have always been the forest, pretending to be the botanist who is studying it. This realization is the key to leaving the laboratory. But what does it mean to live as the forest? How do we navigate life without our precious maps? How do we navigate without maps? This question assumes that navigating is a problem to be solved by the intellect. But there is a different kind of intelligence, a different way of knowing. Think of how you learn to swim. You can spend years in a library reading manuals on hydrodynamics, buoyancy, and the physics of the perfect freestyle stroke. You can become the world's leading academic expert on swimming. But you will not know how to swim. To learn, you must get in the water. You have to abandon the solid ground of theory and surrender to a new element. In the first moments, there is panic and flailing, the librarian's terror of losing control. But then, if you allow yourself to relax, a different kind of intelligence awakens. The intelligence of your entire body, your entire organism. It learns how to float, how to move, how to breathe. It knows things the librarian can never know. This is the wisdom of the territory. Analysis paralysis is the state of the person standing at the edge of the pool, endlessly rereading the swimming manual, terrified of drowning. Confidence in life is not the intellectual certainty that you will not drown. It is the embodied trust that when you are in the water, you can learn to swim. It is a trust in the wisdom of the territory itself, a trust that you are not separate from it. You are not a rock that will sink. You are made of the same water you are in, but the librarian in our head screams in protest. This is reckless. It is abandoning reason. We need our maps to survive. And this is the paradox we must embrace. This is not about becoming anti-intellectual. It's not about burning the library down. It is about putting the librarian back in his proper place. The map is an incredible tool, but it has become the master. To restore sanity and balance, we must understand the final, healthy relationship between the map and the territory. Think of a master guide leading a journey through a vast wilderness. Does she spend the entire trek with her nose buried in a map, ignoring the world around her? The map is a useful reference, but the territory is the ultimate authority. The map is a servant, not a master. This is the model for a life of wisdom. Our analytical mind, our inner librarian, is the map. It is an incredible tool for planning, reflecting, and solving specific technical problems. But it is a terrible instrument for experiencing the richness of the present moment. To live wisely is to become the guide. It is to consult your thoughts and plans, but to trust your senses, your intuition, and your direct, embodied experience as your primary source of truth. It is to end the war between your head and the world. The shift from the paralyzed librarian to the wise guide is the journey from knowing about to simply knowing. But how do we make this shift? How do we learn to put the map away when we've spent a lifetime believing it was the only thing keeping us safe? In our final section, we will explore the simple, courageous act of stepping out of the library, not into a terrifying wilderness, but into the home that has been patiently waiting for you all along. We have journeyed from the paralyzed librarian to the wise guide. We have seen that the goal is not to destroy our intellect, but to put it in its proper place as a servant, not the master. The final and most vital question remains: how do we do it? How do we find the courage to put the map down and step into the living, breathing forest? The answer is not found in a grand decision, but in a small, gentle, and repeated action. The door out of the library of your mind is always open. That door is your senses. Analysis paralysis is a state of being completely hypnotized by the world of thought, of symbols, of maps. To break the spell, you must anchor yourself in the territory of the real. When you feel yourself spinning, lost in a web of worries, regrets, and what-if scenarios, you must perform the simplest and most radical act. Come home to your senses. What are 3 things you can see in the room right now without labeling them or judging them? What is one sound you can hear, perhaps one you were filtering out? Can you feel the physical pressure of your feet on the floor or the texture of the fabric on your skin? Each of these sensory anchors is a step out of the abstract library and into the living present. It is a circuit breaker for the anxious mind. The portable wisdom is this: your thinking mind is like a web browser with 1,000 tabs open, each one a different worry or possibility. Your senses are the home button that instantly brings you back to the only page that is actually real. You don't have to force yourself to close all the tabs. You just have to remember that you have a home button. This is not some complex meditation. It is the simple, grounding act of returning. To feel, to see, to hear. This is the practice of being an inhabitant of the forest. This simple practice changes your entire orientation to life. Intelligence is no longer just the size of your library, but the quality of your presence. You begin to trust that you have more than one kind of wisdom, not just the wisdom of the map, but the wisdom of your body, of your gut, of the territory itself. When faced with a decision, you still consult the map of your thoughts, but you also listen to the wisdom of the forest. You notice how each option feels in your body. Anxiety begins to lose its power, because anxiety lives in the hypothetical future drawn on the map. It has a very hard time surviving in the concrete reality of your senses, right here, right now. So the final invitation is not to become thoughtless, but to stop living exclusively in the world of thought. It is not to burn your maps, but to have the courage to look up from them. As you move through your day, can you practice these small, quiet homecomings? When you feel the familiar paralysis of overthinking begin to set down, can you have the gentle courage to close the book, just for a moment, and simply listen to the world? What if the trust in life you've been seeking is not a conclusion to be reached at the end of a book, but a conversation to be had with the living world, starting right now?